Now, may I request Dr. Soin, who needs no introduction, to come and speak on liver transplant and maybe give some more comments on surgery.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sadiq. Thank you, Subhash. I think I'll confine myself to to my topic because that's all I've got here today. Right. So, the advantages of liver transplantation over resection, which is the other surgical choice in patients who have HCC, which is especially which is resectable, is that with liver transplantation you treat the underlying cirrhosis, obviously, and you treat any undiscovered multicentric lesions, which are there in about 30 to 60% of the cases. And also you avoid the later de novo HCC, which especially the patients with hepatitis B have. And in a sense, you kind of treat it preemptively because 80% of them will have subsequent lesions. And of course, the later risk of recurrence, especially in tumors bigger than 5 centimeter, which is close to 90%, is avoided. And even tumors which are small, after resection, there will be at least a 50% chance of recurrence. So you avoid that. Of course, transplantation entails a total hepatectomy, which provides the widest oncological clearance, and it also allows for accurate pathological staging. So these are the obvious advantages of liver transplant over resection in resectable HCC. So I'm going to talk about liver transplant for HCC, looking at it from 4 points of view. One is transplant for early resectable HCC, which I'm going to consider as single tumors less than 5 centimeter. Transplant for HCC within conventional Milan or UCSF criteria, then transplant for advanced HCC, and salvage transplant after liver resection. Now, the recent publication from one of our colleagues, Prashant Bangui, and his colleagues at Paris, René Adams, which compares about 100 patients each of resection and transplant of early HCC. So all these patients to start with had early HCC, and they were then treated either with resection or with transplant. And the results show that the overall survival for solitary cancers less than 5 centimeter, the survival curves start to separate out as early as 2 years, and there's an obvious statistical difference in survival at 5 and 10 years. And the same story, only more pronounced, is true for recurrence-free survival, or RFS, for tumors less than 5 centimeter. Again, the separation happens as early as a year, and there's a huge difference in survival long-term between resection and transplant for these tumors. Overall survival for tumors less than 3 centimeter, not so much difference initially, but long-term, even the overall survival is certainly numerically lower for patients who have resection, although this was not statistically significant. But recurrence-free survival was significant even for tumors less than 3 centimeters. So you would have thought that if you resect a 3 centimeter tumor, you're okay, but overall survival may be okay for 5 to 10 years, but recurrence-free survival is certainly inferior with resection. And the separation happens between the two curves as early as 2 to 3 years. And this is really duplicated almost exactly by our own data. This is 82 liver resections done in cirrhotic patients in the 4-year period between 2005 and 9. And we found that 1 year overall and recurrence-free survival was 98 and 74%, and 3-year overall and recurrence-free survival was 76 and 42%, which is almost exactly the same as the French results, which I just presented. So it's quite clear that although overall survival may be okay with resection of small tumors, recurrence-free survival is definitely inferior to transplant. Now let's look at transplant for conventional criteria and for advanced HCC. Everybody would accept that patients who have HCC within Milan or within UCSF criteria, Milan being single lesion less than 5 and UCSF being single lesion less than 6.5 centimeter, or those with 2 or 3 lesions each less than or equal to 4.5 in case of UCSF or 3 centimeter in case of Milan. If a patient has a tumor like that and there is no macrovascular invasion or extrahepatic spread, then they will have a 5-year survival in the region of around 70%, both within Milan and within UCSF. So this is standard, nothing to discuss or debate. Why do we need to expand these criteria, if at all? Well, to start with, the conventional criteria were made for in the DDLT setting, the deceased donor liver transplant setting, and although there have been other studies showing their validity in living donor liver transplantation, this is something that has had to be later validated. Then, in living donor liver transplantation, there is no competition for the donor organ, which is there in DDLT, and therefore, obviously, your criteria for selection of patients can be a little more relaxed, because it's not a question of using the organ for gaining maximum survival, but it's a question of using that organ for that particular patient to benefit that patient. Then, generally, I mean, everyone feels that conventional Milan criteria or even UCSF are probably too restrictive, and these criteria exclude many patients who can actually gain survival as well as quality from transplant. Look at this Mazzaferro paper in Lancet Oncology in 2009, already 4 years old. You can even have survival of around 50% with 10 centimeter tumor or with 10 tumors. So there is a possibility of a 50% survival at 5 years with a large number of tumors or a large tumor. And even if the HCC has microvascular invasion, which is the bottom graph, even then 30-20% survival is possible with big tumors. So obviously there is something more to the game than just numbers and sizes. And that's why you need to look at expansion. And the ever-expanding list of expanded criteria, of course, suggests that a lot of people are thinking of the same thing across the world. So we started with Milan about nearly 20 years ago, and then we went on to UCSF and then Asan medical criteria, not necessarily in chronological order, but just from across the world. So AMC, that's Asan medical criteria, modified Milan up to 7 criteria, Chengdu, Kyoto, Hangzhou, and we, Medanta, we basically accept all comers, any size, any number, as long as there is no extrahepatic spread or vascular spread. So I'm going to talk about our own experience with HCC in cirrhosis among patients who've had living donor liver transplant. I won't present the detailed results because Prashant is going to do that subsequently in the meeting, and I don't want to really steal the thunder from his presentation, but I'll just give you a conceptual view. So Medanta criteria, no extrahepatic disease, no invasion of main, right or left portal vein or major hepatic veins or IVC, of course no medical contraindication to transplant, and tumor size and number does not stop us from doing transplants. And we looked at 10-year data on 174 patients who underwent living donor liver transplant for HCC and cirrhosis, according to these criteria. And the overall survival long-term is 84% at 3 years and about 78% at 5 years. Recurrence-free survival, 76% and 68% at 3 and 5 years. And when we stratified the data between within and outside Milan, we found that those who had tumors within Milan obviously had an overall survival, excellent overall survival, around 92%, and a recurrence-free survival of 88%. And those who were outside Milan had an overall survival of 73% and a recurrence-free long-term survival of 60%. And the percentages I haven't shown the graphs here, but the percentages in UCSF are about 5% lower. So we still had more than 50% long-term survival, recurrence-free, beyond UCSF. So to summarize our data, First of all, we also validated the findings that Milan and UCSF criteria do predict overall survival and recurrence-free survival in the LDLT setting as well. And in our data, 80% of the recipients we found are alive long-term without recurrence. The 3-year overall and recurrence-free survival are 82 and 74% respectively, which is pretty respectable for these patients who would otherwise not have a median survival of more than 14 months. Overall survival was 3 years for patients beyond Milan and UCSF. Sorry, overall survival at 3 years for patients beyond Milan and UCSF was 73 and 63%, and that suggests that liver transplantation, or in our setting, living donor liver transplantation, probably is still the best curative strategy, even for patients beyond UCSF criteria. Now, let's finally talk about salvage transplant. Now, the important things in salvage transplant are, one, are the results of salvage transplant the same as primary transplant? Two, what percentage of patients actually go on to have a salvage transplant from among those who recur after resection? I mean, it's all very well to say that you resect and you always have a chance to transplant them later if they recur, but one, what percentage of them will actually have recurrences that are amenable to transplant? I mean, they fall within the criteria. And two, logistically, how many of them are actually able to proceed at the time for transplant? So let's look at what our data shows. Total number of transplants in the period from 2002 to May 2013, 1,328. Transplants for HCC, 258. Confirmed on liver biopsy, 249. So all the data I'm basically presenting is biopsy confirmed data. And the number of liver resections in the similar period, 4-year period, was 274. And resections for cirrhotic HCC were 103. Among these, 52 of them had all pre and at least a 2-year follow-up data. And therefore, we looked at these 52 patients who underwent resection in the time period 2007 to 11. And of these 52, 50 were transplantable at the time of their resection because 2 had portal vein thrombosis, so these were excluded. So 50 out of the 52 patients on whom we had data who had resection were transplantable at the time. And among them, 50% recurred at 3 to 28 months with a mean of 12 months. And among those, approximately half were transplantable because they had no extrahepatic tumor, no major vascular spread. So 25 recurred, 12 were transplantable. Only 7 of them, that means 14% of the original transplantable group, 28% of the recurred group, and 58% of the finally transplantable group ultimately underwent salvage transplant. So only 7 out of those 50 patients underwent salvage transplant eventually. 4 were resected elsewhere and also underwent salvage transplant at our center. So the total number of salvage transplants up to that period was 11. All 11 patients did well. So there was 100% survival among salvage transplant patients at 2 to 39 months. 2 of them recurred at 15 and 22 months. Now let's look at the patients who have more than 12 months follow-up in detail. Basically, the common etiologies were 6 HBV, 2 HCV, and 1 cryptogenic. They were all around 40 to 50 years old. 8 were within UCSF at the time of resection, 8, and 1 was beyond. The liver resection to recurrence interval was a mean of 13 plus minus 10 months. And note this, that at salvage transplants, most of them were beyond UCSF. So basically, at the time of resection, they were earlier grade tumors, and at the time of salvage transplants, they were late tumors. Now, Belghiti found in his paper published last year that, like us, the operative mortality of primary and salvage liver transplant.
Can you wind up?
Sorry?
Time. You're already double your time. Can you wind up?
I thought I had the liberty to carry on because my previous speaker didn't.
No. We need somebody to talk on surgery. So we can have discussion after this. It's already.
Yeah. So I'll be about 2 minutes. Is that okay? Right. So I was actually going slower because of the previous presentation not happening. So anyway, Balgiti found that among about 138 and 191 patients of liver resection versus liver transplant, the intention to treat 5-year survival after primary and salvage transplant was similar, but recurrence-free survival was much inferior in the salvage group. So salvage summary, operative mortality between salvage and primary transplant is similar in experienced hands. Recurrences after resection of HCC usually occur within 3 years, usually within 2 years. Recurrence is usually more advanced than primary tumor, and less than a third of those who recur will eventually undergo salvage transplant. This is pretty important. So on an intention to treat basis, considering long-term liver transplant results of 80%, the disease-free survival after salvage transplant is definitely inferior to primary transplant. And I'll just have a couple of more slides now. So what's the future? Obviously, numbers, sizes don't help us that much. Biomarkers obviously are the future. And the other thing is to see the role of mTOR inhibitors like sirolimus in preventing post-transplant recurrence of HCC. The list of biomarkers is ever expanding. I will not go through them. But the important ones are glypican-3, glutamine synthase, cladribine heavy chain, and HSP70. We have a project which is actually looking at about 12 of these. And there are 2 meta-analyses which suggest that sirolimus helps after liver transplant in decreasing recurrence. And of course, there's an ongoing SILVER trial for which the recruitment just stopped. And there will be a 5-year follow-up, which basically compares mTOR-free and sirolimus-containing immunosuppression, the switch happening about 1 to 2 months after transplant. So to conclude, liver transplant is definitely the best option for cirrhotic HCC within UCSF, everyone agrees. Early HCC liver transplant is better as far as recurrence-free survival is concerned, and of course, intention to treat basis, it does better than resection. And liver transplant is the best available option for advanced HCC without extrahepatic spread or macrovascular invasion. And salvage transplant results are the same as LT in terms of operative mortality, but intention to treat survival is inferior for salvage transplant compared to primary transplant. Thanks very much for your attention.